Hello, it's me, and I'm going to address some viewer questions. There's a couple that I had a few repeat ones, so I'm going to just address those. One of which had to do with this master Pyraminx. Now, if you notice, this is not the mass-produced master Pyraminx. This is actually a Shapeways product, one of the originals, and this comes from Timur, who does all those fantastic Pyraminxes. The Master, the Supreme, the Elite, all that good stuff. Anyway, this is a situation of what appears to be parity. It's actually more of a placement issue, where one center is in and the rest need to be rotated. This green needs to come here, this blue needs to come here, and this white needs to come here. So to get out of this, I'm going to pattern this after a move that I use for the Pyraminx solve. One of which is going to be kind of isolating this portion of the Pyraminx, and the other one is going to isolate this portion. But the reason why this happened is that when you started putting this together, you needed to, when you rotated these guys in, you needed to make sure that the centers were placed first. So as you're rotating it in, you can't have a situation where just one center is in and the rest are out, because you're going to end up with this situation. You needed to make sure that all the centers were lined up before proceeding. But let's say you forgot to do that and you're at this situation. We need to recalibrate the puzzle, which means let's go ahead and take all these centers and just move them where they're supposed to be. So this is in with this. Don't worry about these guys. So this is good now, this is good, and this is good. So this has been recalibrated. What we have to do now is we have to take these guys and rotate these guys around. So this blue and green has to rotate to here. This green and white needs to come here, and this white and blue needs to come here. So the way that you're going to do that is you're going to do the equivalent of a edge rotation, the same way that I would do with a cube, and it's really a similar algorithm. Hold it any way you want, but this is going to be an R move over here, and this will be a U move over here. And just go R, U, R, I, U, R, U, R, I. And what that's going to do is you're going to find that that will have rotated these all in. So now don't worry about the center. It's been skewed, but that's fine. As long as all centers are out, we don't worry about that. We're recalibrating the puzzle. But assuming that this is the white side here, you've got this over here, blues over here, and greens over here. Now that you've done that, you've got these guys that need to be rotated. Well, I'm going to do the same thing, exactly the same algorithm. This green and white needs to come here, this blue and green need to come here, and so on and so forth. We're going to do the same thing. Once again, this is R, and this is going to be U over here. And go ahead and do that. Go R, U, R, I, U, R, U, R, I. Now, if it doesn't do it with the first algorithm, just do it again. And I should say this too, if it didn't do it with the first algorithm with the bottom side here, just do it again as well. So in other words, with this as my R and this as my U, if these guys shouldn't happen to go in at first, just keep doing it until it does. So we're going to do it with this one again here too. R, U, R, I, U, R, U, R, I, and all these are in, and what you're going to find is the centers are now exactly where you want them to be. And then it's just a matter of flipping them appropriately. These two swap, and these two swap. And that's by that old familiar algorithm that we went over with the master Pyraminx. 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, and 3. So you got out of it. So if you ever end up in a situation like that, the situation where you have one in and these three out, just do that algorithm, that same algorithm, that R, U, R, U, R, U, R, I, starting to, first off getting these in, then do the same thing over here with this as the U, and just put the centers in accordingly. So no biggie if you run into that, and that's how to get out of that. Thanks for watching. So continuing on with viewer request, I had some requests for this guy over here. It's a 4-layer modification, not too unlike the rhombic dodecahedron. It's similar in that it's a shape mod of a 4x4. It does not shapeshift, even though it is a mod, and that's because of the unique shape. But what's unique about this is that the centers are of one color. So you'd think, well, this is fairly easy. It's a 4-layer modification, and I don't have to worry about centers. I just do edge reduction and then corners, and I can make any side what I want. So why should this be complicated? Well, there is an interesting twist with this one. So I'm going to go through a scramble of this real quick and then solve and show you exactly the problem that I can run into with this guy. So the movement of this puzzle here, we can turn over here, here. Let's just scramble it and see what happens. Abracadabra. Okay, pretty good. So now at first blush, like I say, this doesn't look like it should be too much of a problem because you don't have to worry about centers. I can move centers anywhere, and because the color is the same, it's no problem. I think this is called a 4x4 mask puzzle cube thingy, who knows. Anyway, so I'm going to skip all the center reduction issues and go right into edge reduction. So this is fairly easy, and actually I do it a little bit differently with this particular puzzle, is I'm going to just put all my edges in and put them over to the side here or to the side here. So really quickly, I see a green over here. Well, actually these two are here. I'll just move it down. I don't have to do anything else. Move it down and then bump it out of the way over here. Here's, say, these two. Just move it down. Don't have to worry about centers. This is already bumped out of the way. Bump it out of the way over here. Here's a pink, already done, so forget about it. 2 greens. I'm going to put these on the opposite sides. So like this, make sure I haven't taken anything that I've bumped out. This is good, and this is good. Okay, so just move it in. I don't have to do that fancy thing of trying to retain centers. So move it in, this is good. Now I'm going to move this to this side over here. Well, let's swap it, well, don't even have to swap it. So there that is over here. Okay, what else? Well, I've got these 2 blues here. So I'm going to double turn and I'll move it in. So that's good. And actually this is good as well. So now I'm going to keep moving these off to the side. So just bump this over to here. This can't go over here. It's filled, so I have to move it to here. So I'm going to do some replacing. Just move it to the side. Got to get this back, so I'm going to substitute it with this here and move it back over here. Now you can do it in the way that you'd usually do a 4x4, but you don't really need to be so specific about it because the centers don't have anything to worry about it. But there's a price to pay. So what about these two? Let's go ahead and bring this to here, this down to here rather. So we're going to do some replacing. Turn this over here, bump this down, and turn it back. And just bang, move this in. So now this is in here. So now I'm going to move this over here and replace it with one of these two. So move it in, double turn, move this here. Now if this is confusing to you, just do it the way you do any other 4x4 mod. I'm just putting all the edges here, and now I've got a couple more to go. So I'm just going to double turn this over here so that this silver can line up with this, move it in, and there you have it. And now just once again move this to the side, replace it with this one. So move this up, move it in, put this in its place, and bring this back down here. Again, the whole key is put all of one color here, all of one color here. So now we're down to these guys. Well, the way that this is going to work, there's going to be at least one that I'm going to be able to just slide in. So bang, there it is. And now in this case, I've got 2 that are in, and I've got 2 here that need to be placed. Well, I'm going to do this the same way that I did the last 2 edges of any other 4x4 mod. So now I'm just going to move these 2 areas next to each other, and this algorithm brings this to here, and this to here, and then everything will be fine. And that's going to be slice it over here, then do R, F-I-U, R-I-F, slice it back. I went fast through that because first off, I assume knowledge of how to do a 4x4, and second of all, the people who are having trouble with this are probably having trouble not with this part, but the last part, which is what we're going to get to. So now it's a question of just solving it. So how do I know what goes where? So this is kind of the challenge with this one. In terms of what goes where, I'm going to have the corners decide. I don't have the centers to guide me with this, so it's got to be the corners. So here's silver. Here's a silver side over here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to line this up to here. It's already in, which means that green is supposed to be here, light green. So let's find a light green. Is it on the bottom? It's not. It's right over here. So let's go ahead and just move this out. So I want to move this to here without disrupting this guy. So I'm going to go R, 2F, RI. And that brings us over here. So I'm going to just continue on this side here. I need the other silver, which is here. So let's just bring this down. And I'll move this to over here. So just blast it up here. Okay, which means I need a light blue to come over here. So where's my light blue? Right over here. So in this case, move it to here, just below where it's supposed to be. This has to move up. Li, 2F, and then L. Okay, so now that's in. So find the other blue corner with the blue in here, light blue, and it's right here. So we're just gonna move this in, turn and turn. Okay, so light blue. Now I'm looking for yellow. Line the yellow up at the bottom if I can find it. At this point, if it's here, I need to move this down here without disrupting this. So I'm just going to do the algorithm that'll bring this up to here. So it'll swap these two. UI, LI, U, L, U, F, UI, FI. Alright, 3x3 strategy. And my whole goal was to move it over to here, move this right below where it's supposed to be. In this case, we're going to move this one up to an Li, 2F, L, and that's in. And this happens to be in over here. So this, we're going to say, is our first side. We've got the first side. Now we're going to solve the middle layer. Again, I'm moving fast with this because I don't think the viewer had questions on this part. This is already where it needs to be over here. I need the purple one. Purple is here, so let's move on to here. I need the pink one. Pink is here. Light blue, aha! Purple rather. So I'm going to move this down here. Now I can move it in from any angle, here or here. So whatever you prefer. So we'll do the algorithm, which is strict 3x3 strategy, taking this and moving it here. That's U, R, UI, RI, U, FI, UI, F. So there should be a little cascade of abilities to bring things here. This pink one is going to come over to here, so same thing. Turn, 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 turn. Now again, I am assuming knowledge of how to solve a 3x3. If that's too much of an assumption, let me know and I can give these algorithms as to how to shift these down over here. So here's the purple. Go ahead and move it over here and then move it from the top to the right. And that's going to be U, R, UI, RI, UI, FI, U, F. Something like that. Anyway, this is in here. Good, good, good. So now the famed last layer. Well, a couple things I don't have to deal with. I don't have to deal with placement regarding the center. Center is completely fine. And I don't have to worry about turning them upside down. So how do I put them in? Well, this particular puzzle, I would not use the edges here to guide you. You've got to use the corner. Because what this puzzle looks like, and the reason why people run into trouble with this, I bet, is because this actually has the same functionality as this. It's like a void puzzle. In this case, it's a hole in here. Here it's not a hole, but it functions the same way because every center is equivalent to every other center. So in this particular case, you may have actually swapped two centers without realizing it. And if you swap two centers, then you might have a situation where you're going to have edges that are going to be swapped. So here's what I mean. Let's find out what's supposed to go where. And if I look at this over here, let's say this purple is supposed to come over to here. So if this purple is over here and I were to rotate in that position, then the green is going to be facing this way. Here's the other green. If this green were over here and facing out, this pink would be down here. So that tells me that this actually belongs next to this guy here. Or this belongs over here. Because it makes sense. This purple is down, this green would be facing out at me, which means if this green were over here, then the pink would be down. This would be down. So I'm going to go ahead and do a permutation where I'm going to rotate these corners until this is over here next to this one. This guy is over here. And that's going to be U, R, UI, LI, U, RI, UI, L. Okay, so there this is over here, and this is in the correct position. And I know this because if I were to rotate this, this purple would be down here, and this green would be facing this guy over here. And also that means that this orange is going to be facing out here. To line up with this is already lined up with the red, so we're good. This blue is where it's supposed to be. This blue is supposed to be rotated here so that this light blue will be down lined up with this. So I hope that made sense, but basically what I did is I took one corner that was in, or one corner that I knew had to be correlated with a certain direction, and I put this in here and just started lining corners up, knowing this corner is supposed to come over to here. What I'm going to do is, because this corner is lined up correctly with its proper place at the bottom, so is this, these two need to be rotated. So I'm going to hold it over here and do my RIDIRD maneuvers until this is rotated correctly, until this green is rotated where it's got to be. RIDIRD, RIDIRD. So these two are right. So what I'm going to do is keep rotating. These two are right. Rotate here. This blue needs to come up to here. So now I'm going to rotate this around until this blue is facing basically the same direction as this blue. RIDIRD, RIDIRD, and just keep going until it's finally correct. So this is all fine. So if you notice, all these corners are correct. Now I'm just going to line them up with the proper edges down here. So this is good, this is good, this is good, this is good. So all these corners are correct. Now, why did I do it this way? Well, now that I've done that, I'm going to do these corners, these edges here separately. So don't try to solve the edges first, because you don't want to be in a situation where you have two corners out and two corners in. That's going to be an impossible situation to solve. Make sure you've reasoned it out to where all the corners are correct. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple of swaps in order to get things in the right position. For instance, this white is supposed to come over to here, this green is supposed to come here, and this blue is, well, this blue is supposed to come here. So everything has to rotate in a counterclockwise direction. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do an opposite edge swap. Now in a true supercube, I know that if I did, if I did an adjacent edge swap, this center will rotate 180 degrees. But we don't care because it's equivalent. But after I do this swap, it's going to cause placement parity with these two. But again, we don't care because it might be fixed when we swap others. So we're going to go ahead and do that swap to put the right one where it's supposed to be. So that's going to be 2RU, 2RU, 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, 2RU, 2R, UI, 2R. As promised, this is in, and we've created placement parity over here. This is supposed to be here, as you can see, and this pink is supposed to be here, as you can see. So we'll hold it in this position and ask ourselves what else has to happen. Well, this can come here, and well, this can come here, but we're going to do an opposite edge swap so I can get the green one in and fix this placement parity. And that opposite edge swap is 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, and as promised, this has now been fixed. This white one's good, this is good, and now these two need to be swapped. So here we were running into an issue with the law of cubes because I can't swap this without swapping these two. Now in the most simple version of this, just so that it can be easily visualized, we can go ahead and do an adjacent edge swap, and then we can just do a parity algorithm with this. So here's what I mean. We'll just go ahead and do an adjacent edge swap to our U, to our U, to our, to U, to our, to U, to our U, to our UI, to our. Fixed, but we have placement parity here. Now the way to get out of this, if this were a true 4x4 supercube mod, then I could not just apply the opposite parity fix with this, because this is kind of a parity situation. Because if I did that, if I were to do that, then I'm going to cause rotations of my centers here. But the good news with this particular mod is they don't have to worry about that. There is one algorithm that just swaps these two, but also causes rotation with this one. There's another algorithm that swaps these two and does not cause rotation, and it's a long bear of an algorithm. Luckily, with this particular puzzle, we don't have to worry about that. So take your two that are opposite each other, and obviously if I were to hold it over here and did an opposite edge swap, these two would be swapped and you'd be chasing your tail. So instead, hold it here, one to the left, one to the right, and go 2U, 2R, 2F, 2U, 2U, and then 2F, 2R, 2U, and it's solved, and it's perfectly fine. So this was an interesting variation of the 4x4 theme. Because you didn't have centers, reducing these edges was a breeze. You kind of had to use the corners to guide your way through the first layer. Second layer is done exactly like a 3x3. And then the last layer over here, get the corners in first, reason that out, and then just start doing swaps, adjacent edge and opposite edge swaps, in order to put them in place. If you end up with placement parity, do that algorithm and you've got it in the bag. So, hope that clarified. I think there's about 2 or 3 people that had questions on this puzzle. I did not actually get you to that parity situation where you have 2 edges out and 2 corners out and 2 corners in. Instead, I just showed you how to solve it to where you never even came up against that. Thanks for watching.